another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. Tonight's guest is ready and waiting. She's just popped up backstage, so I was so relieved. It's one of the joys about doing these lives is sometimes you never know what's going to happen. Each week we've always had some kind of thing that throws me off my game, but this week is the week when everything's going to be absolutely fantastic. We've got a few commenters here as well. Natasha Stanley says, good evening. There we go. Sound is better. I always put myself on mute first because I've been known to mess around in the studio whilst I'm waiting to go live and say all sorts of random stuff. So tonight's guest is an absolute power force within the hypnosis community. Not only is she a well-regarded stage hypnotist, keynote corporate speaker, also a hypnotherapist as well. So that's the trilogy of hypnosis. And there's not many people that can actually say that they tick all those three boxes at this level. She is one of the top female hypnotists in the world, and she's our guest tonight. So please make sure you have lots of questions for her as well. Fantastic. Jason Morgan, perhaps I'm joking, or cheers, Jake, and trying to throw me off my game. So we're going to play this little graphic. Then on the other side of this, please have your questions and show lots of love for De'anna Nunez. Hello, hello, hello. She is going to appear this side. There she is. Fantastic. How are you?
I'm excellent. I just got back from a Mexico vacation, so I have like a little sunburn on me, and my hair's all crazy wild, and I'm loving to be here with you. So thanks for having me.
Oh no, thank you for coming on as well. Absolutely love your stuff as well. We've got a few hellos as well here. Fraser Penman. Jeff Benning as well says hi. Fantastic. So yeah, how was Mexico? I mean, like what's it like travel arrangements where you are at the moment? Here in the UK, we're still on kind of a lockdown. How are things with you?
You know, I've been traveling for 25 years. Just the nature of doing hypnosis on stage and all the different things that you mentioned. I love traveling, and it's been such a part of my life. So I'm sure a lot of you would agree. It's been horrible not being able to travel. So yeah. I have missed it so much. It was amazing. So the Mexico border has been open for a while. I have a client that has a vacation house in La Paz, Mexico. It's on the Gulf. And so she's been going down there even with all of the COVID restrictions happening. The border's never really been closed for Mexico. Oh, so she's been inviting me down, and I said yes. And I took my daughter, and we had the best time, and it was so good to just get out. Yes. You know, and do new things. So I'm sure you all would agree. Maybe some of you have been traveling. It's
like you said, to spend your life on the road and then all of a sudden be stuck at home for 14 months has been it's been a learning curve for me. Brenda Kay says, hey girl, hey.
Brenda's my girl.
Brenda is absolutely amazing as well. Natasha Stanley says you are absolutely glowing and you look amazing.
Thank you, Brenda.
I think she was talking
to me. It's funny
that
she says that because I don't actually feel all together. Like I feel together, mind, body, and spirit. But I didn't do much to prepare for this, and I didn't get all decked out. So here I am. This is me waking up in the morning, and I love this actually because it's not contrived. You know.
Yes, exactly. He says with all his backdrop and everything set up. But is that water you've got there, or gin or wine?
What's that?
I said, is that water you're drinking, or is it wine?
Oh, water. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you very good.
Oh, it's sorry. Really, let me see if I can turn me up a bit.
Yeah. This is water, and I love my little glass bottles. It's alkaline water. And you know, one of the shows of Oprah way back years ago, she was talking about, you know, Oprah's favorite things, and one of her favorite things was these beautiful china, these teacups. And she said something that really stuck in my mind, which is why I drink water out of a wine glass. She said, you always want luxurious things around you, the things that you love. You want it to feel special, not just like another day. Yeah. And when she said that, it popped in my mind that I drink a lot of water. I want to drink water for nice skin, for hydration, for your body. And at the time I was doing a lot of running. And so I started drinking water out of a wine glass. And so now wherever I go and at home and in my office, I drink water out of a wine glass. And there's something, you know, we talk about subconscious associations all the time with hypnosis, and it's bougie, you know, to have my water in a wine glass. And it makes me want to do it. And I also noticed that when I'm out and about, I don't want to feel the pressure to need to drink alcohol. I don't have a thing against it. So I do drink, but I don't care anymore in my life. I'm at a point in my life, like, I don't care about having a ton of cocktails.
Yeah.
I like to have one, and that's good. But when I have more, I either, you know, I don't know. I just don't need to put myself in that space anymore. And so this wards off all peer pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I'm a non-drinker.
Okay.
I'm often.
So you know what I mean? Like, everybody kind of wants you to drink, right?
Yeah.
When they're drinking. So I noticed if I just have the glass in my hand, nobody asks me.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I drink sparkling water quite a lot, and here in the UK, it's not that common. So often when you ask for sparkling water, people look at you really weird. But if
probably
it's
Perrier, right? Or I love the Topo Chico as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we got Roy Miller says hello as well.
Hi, Roy.
Jason Morgan says, "Is that a blush grant or is it something else?" Bless him. So yeah. Hypnosis. What was your first experience? How did you first become aware of hypnosis? Tell us about that.
Oh gosh, my first awareness. This is my very first experience ever with hypnosis was being turned into Madonna on a stage in front of about 700 people, I would say.
Wow.
That was my first ever experience with hypnosis that I was aware of, right? Obviously, I've been hypnotizing myself for a really long time. All of us have, but that was my first formal awareness of, oh, I was hypnotized. So I don't know if that qualifies, but that would be my first one. So I was in the middle of a suggestion by a stage hypnotist that I was Madonna, and I was crawling across the floor like Madonna does, and probably grabbing my body parts, and being the star of the show that we all love those people, and I was being one of those people. And it was with Mark Usick, who was actually the person I was dating at the time, and this would be like 25 years ago.
Wow. Maybe
more. Oh my gosh. 26 years ago. And I woke up in the middle. You know how we've all had those people in our shows that they pull themselves out of hypnosis and they do one of those like deer in the headlights, like, what the hell's going on? I did that in the middle of being Madonna, and I stopped crawling across the floor, and I went, you know, scouring back to my chair and sat down, and then he came over and, you know, put me right back to sleep. And so I stayed in the show. But that was my first experience. And what it did was it made me recognize the power of my states of consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in the States, hypnosis seems to be more widely accepted. I know you perform, or you know, stage hypnosis is performed in high schools, grad shows, proms, etc. Here in the UK, we are a little bit more restrictive over here, and it's still seen as being a bit weird and mysterious sort of thing. So how was your kind of transition into performing hypnosis? Did you come at it from an entertainment background? Did you go into therapy first? How did that come about?
I should have.
Yeah, all stage hypnotists should do therapy.
The therapy happens while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's so true. Anytime you're doing something that's like a big deal or scary to you, you're having therapy while you're moving through the experience. So here's where it all started for me. I was dating Mark Usick. He's a really well-known stage hypnotist here in the US. He's a super fun guy. We dated for 2 years, and I love him to this day. He's amazing. And one of the kindest men that I've ever met. And in working with him, I was his assistant. And so I didn't start out that. We started dating. And then I went in his show because he was like, here, I do the show. And then I became his assistant after that. And I did all kinds of shows with him. all over the US and in Australia. And I learned this weird skill set, right? And I was a person that grew up singing on stage, like in church, and I'm a terrible singer. I don't know why anyone let me do that. But I grew up like being okay, comfortable on stage, but I also went through some really difficult teenage years where all my confidence went away. And that part of my life really kind of like squashed me down and made me lose my voice. So then I became this person in my early 20s where I could look pretty and stand up there, but I felt like I didn't really have much to say. I did inside, but I couldn't get that out. And so being his assistant, I was 24 at the time, and I could stand up there pretty in like these cute little dresses, and I would introduce him. And it was terrifying to even introduce him, terrifying to put that microphone, you know, in front of my face and actually say something through the mic. And so I would often even do it. I would introduce him from behind stage. I'd be like, fine, because he'd go, here, introduce me. So he's putting the pressure on, right? Which is good, because you want to have those people that poke you and get you out of your comfort zone. But I would be like, fine, I'll do it, but I have to do it backstage. And so I finally got to the point where I could walk out in the front of the stage and introduce him, and then I would, you know, go back to my little quiet hiding spot. And so I wish I would have paid attention, because I honestly had no idea that I was going to have a career, an entire big, massive career for the next 25 years from that experience. I had no idea. And if I did know, I would have paid more attention to what he was actually doing. But I didn't have that perspective. And so I just thought I was having fun, you know, with him. And after we broke up, we parted ways, I couldn't get it out of my head. I just couldn't get it. I could not shake it. It was fun. It was exhilarating. It was powerful. And what really turned me on more than any of the show antics or the entertainment of it was that it was transformative for people. And that there was this other piece of it that I thought, oh my gosh, people feel shifted after they have this experience. And so I thought, I want to do that. And I want to focus on that part of it, the powerful shift that can happen for people. Because I've always had a heart for the transformation of what the human experience is. I've had my own just absolute bouts of zero confidence and of drugs, alcohol, bad relationships, all of those family relationships that are like, it's just all of it, right? That all of it, nothing new that any of us, we can all experience these things. And so I just thought, what a beautiful thing to do for people, to be that person that can come in and go, look, here's this opportunity to transform your life. And so I started doing shows, really out of my own ignorance, because here I had all these experiences with him. So I thought I knew how to do a show, even though he literally never once formally taught me how to do a show. But I had done hundreds with him. And I just had this like vision. I had this vision, and I had to break through a couple of things. I had to break through the fear of the microphone and being able to get up there and have something to say. And then I had to also just learn what it felt like to be confident inside myself. And so what I did was
great question. Fraser Penman has just asked the question. It says, how did you deal with stage fright from then until present day now?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So I am a big believer in just doing it. I know that is anything earth-shattering for you, but there's something to be said for just taking action despite the fear. And the second thing that completely backs that up is do hypnosis on yourself, because I have always had this feeling of be scared, but do it anyway. Because in that flow of being scared but doing anyways is courage. And so I have literally always 100% of the time shown up on a stage with courage. I didn't always show up with confidence, but I always showed up with courage.
But
and so
I think
just tap that inside yourself, because he's got it. Who was it that asked that question?
That was Fraser Penman.
Fraser, you got courage.
Yes, absolutely.
So find that inside yourself. You know, I think that sometimes we can get caught up in imitating other people. And, you know, when we learn from other stage hypnotists or speakers, because I've done a lot of speaking as well, that we, you know, start to imitate other people and your hand positioning and when you should pause and how your body language should be. Yes, there is truth in all of that. But at the same time, if you're trying to do all those things and be there, you're going to not be there. Yeah. You're going to be so caught up in your head of doing all these things right that you're not going to actually have connection with the audience. And the only thing that matters is connection with the audience. The only thing that matters. So get out of yourself. And when I started to realize that it wasn't about me, it's really about, and it's not about the audience either. It's about this thing that we're going to create together. That's when everything changed for me.
Immersive. It's like you said, it's about that energy you feel from then. A couple of comments as well. Natasha Stanley says she thinks you are her new girl crush. She can definitely learn a lot from you. And Brenda Kay says, agreed, hypnosis is the perfect tool to transform stage fright.
Totally.
So tell us about your first show. You've been with Mark on the road. You've got the skill sets. You're walking out to that first stage show. How was that?
Okay, so my very first show ever, by the way, I'm doing this because like, this is my 80s hair today. I never ever do my hair like this, ever. This is me like coming out of the ocean. I love that I'm having these vulnerable moments with you guys. My very first show ever, I wanted to set myself up for success. I'm a big believer in that. And I like calculated risk. So calculated risk means, yeah, you're doing something way crazy, but at the same time, you want to set yourself up to have the most, you know, probable experience that is going to be successful. So I decided that I would reach out to the Marine Corps. And the U.S. Marine Corps, they have bases all over the U.S. And I live in San Diego, one of the biggest military towns in all of America. We have the Navy, we have the Marines here, and I believe we don't have an Army base, but we have the Navy Marines. And so I went to the Marines, and the only reason I knew to do this is because 10 years before, at least 10 years before, when I was about 14, my sister was a DJ. She had a DJ business, and she used to go on the Marine Corps bases, and she would DJ. And they loved having a female DJ. Yeah. And I was a kid, and nobody knew I was a kid. Everyone thought I was, you know, of age, but I was not of age. And I would go there, and I'd go and dance, and I'd get out on the dance floor, and I would just like have a great time the whole night, and I would dance, and it would get everybody out on the dance floor, right, at these Marine Corps bases. So I remembered, and I knew that the Marine Corps has these bars, and they have these events that they do all the time for all the military people. And so I reached out to them along with my team member who is now my husband. He's been my husband for 21 years. Wow. But at the time, this was probably 24 years ago. And we started contacting those people. The very first show I ever did was for an officers club on the Marine Corps base. And I would say you don't want to do your first show for an officers club because officers don't take orders, they give orders. Yeah. Where you want to start is with all of the 18, 19-year-old newbies that are in the service that are really conditioned to take orders. They will be like putty in your hands, right? But not the officers. So my very first show did go well, even though I later learned that. What I did was I contacted the bar manager, and I took her some great photos that were very professional and all pinned up, looking in a suit. And I took her these photos, and I created a promo kit that I literally still have it to this day. I don't have it right here. I should have brought it to show you guys because it's pretty hilarious, this promo kit. Talk about homemade. But I took her this promo kit that I put together, And it was all contrived because I didn't have the experience. I had the experience of being an assistant, but not being the hypnotist, like in front, right? So I put this little thing together and I handed it to her, and I told her how the show was going to go, because I knew how shows go, even though I had really never done a show. I knew how they go. And so I told her, this is what I'm going to do for you. And she believed me. I believed myself, and which is, I'm sure, why she believed me. And she said yes. But she said, so one thing, she said, De'anna, I will give you this opportunity. She goes, but this picture is not going to work. She goes, this will not bring my men into this bar on a Wednesday night. So I need you to give me tits and ass. And I was like, I was shocked because I was trying to be really professional. And I wanted to be regarded as professional. I wanted to be respected. And so her saying that I needed to bring tits and ass was like, what? Okay, but I really wanted to do the show as well. So I thought, okay, how can I feel okay with what she's asking, but not feel like I am going across any of my own, boundaries as I pull up my my own boundaries, and really, make this thing happen that where everybody feels like it's a win. And so she said, I need you to give me a different picture, and I'll say yes. She goes, because I have to promote the show. So I went and took pictures on my then boyfriend's Harley Davidson. I have the picture. I have that one too, because it became a poster that they just plastered all over the base. I was in black boots up to my knees, and a short skirt and a little cleavage. And then I wasn't like in a bikini, but something that felt comfortable for me. And I took that picture and I brought it back to her, and she was like, yes, this will work. So she made this poster, and she put me up in front of the PX, which is their grocery store, and all over the whole base. And 7 o'clock on Wednesday night, the bar was completely packed.
Yeah.
And we did the show, and that very first one, I just knew that I never had to do my first show ever again. And that was the length of my vision. I had a much bigger vision of what this could be for me and for this experience. But my vision was just get through this very first show, because then you never have to do your first show again. And there was just something about that gave me a lot of bravery and courage. And I thought, okay, De'anna, come on, you've seen this done. Just be that. Just step into those shoes. And I did. And I never looked back. And, it was amazing, because the first show, I'm sure if I watched it, if we all watched that show, we'd be like, oh God,
Yeah.
Well, but I did things right, because the show went off and people got hypnotized and did all kinds of crazy fun things and brought on tons of laughs. And I mean, that's the purpose of the show.
Exactly.
And I remember from the beginning, what I started to do at the end of every show was, and we all do this as hypnotists, is we plant some kind of power suggestion. My power suggestion has always been around letting go of fear and building confidence in yourself, those two things. And so I said that in that very first show, and I literally have never stopped saying it over 25 years, is to let go of fear and build confidence. And to me, that is the epitome of courage. Right? So it's not about being fearless or not having fear, but really, what can you go and accomplish in your life if you just have more courage?
Yeah.
And so that's how I did that first show. And I got booked at every single base across the entire United States. Quantico called me, which is the headquarters of the Marine Corps. Then Okinawa in Japan called me, and every base in Japan. So I've been to Japan. I went to overseas on tours to Japan and Korea for 20 years with the Marine Corps. Wow. And I did every base across America from that one show.
Wow.
And, I kind of felt like I was going to outgrow them at some point, just, charging more money. And by the way, I'll tell you guys, are y'all leaning in? How much I got paid for that first show?
Go on.
A lot of people told me I needed to do it for free. Would you all agree with that? Should somebody go out and do a free show?
Do you know what?
I want to know.
Yeah, it's weird, because it's that thing of like stage time versus value. And I did my first show for free. However, I always encourage people, do that first show, get paid that money, because that's the value is in that. If they believe they're getting value, they're getting value. But go on,
Yeah.
I am leaning in. I want to know what you got paid for that first show.
It felt like $1 million. It could have been $50, and I would have been so stoked, because getting paid anything to go and have that experience was like, I felt like I hit the jackpot. I got paid $350.
Wow.
And
wow.
I was like, that was the best $350 ever.
Yeah.
And I quickly raised that price.
Yeah.
You know, and it was fine. And the Marine Corps, you know, something really interesting that I tapped into with the Marines was a lot of people assume that I went and did USO shows. The USO is definitely a thing with the military, and it includes all 4 of our different types of military in the U.S. And a lot of entertainment is taken through the USO, but they don't pay you through the USO.
Just for the Brits and the people that aren't immigrant, what's USO?
The USO is a way to give back to the military. Oh. So you guys remember, you probably have seen the pictures from way back in the day, and it's been happening still to this day, where like Marilyn Monroe, she's such an icon. She would go and do these military tours, and there's pictures of you. If you guys Google Marilyn Monroe military, you'll see these pictures of her in these gorgeous like sequin gowns, and she's with just a sea of military men.
Yeah. And
she's on stage and she's singing and performing, and then signing autographs after them. And that was my vision too, by the way. I thought, I could be like Marilyn Monroe. And that was to me, growing up, Marilyn Monroe was someone, a sexual icon that I totally admired. And I love that, like, she must be so smart to be that dumb. I loved that about her. Because think about it, like, you don't get to where she got by being dumb. So I thought that, and that was, by the way, when the bar manager asked me to give tits and ass, I was like, how could I just be like Marilyn Monroe? And so that took me very far. So the USO is a way of entertaining all of the troops. So big name acts for years and years and years. It started way back with, what was his name? Like Dick Clark and that whole era, Frank Sinatra era. It started way back then. And so to this day, there's entertainment that goes to military bases all over the planet. For me, I didn't tap into that. Maybe they do pay those bigger name acts, but for hypnotists, like, we need to find our groove of where buyers have money and where they have budgets. And I tapped into a budget that the military has, and it's through Marine Corps Entertainment. So they have a different section where they have a budget that they can pay people to come out and entertain the troops that's not through the USO.
Nice.
So I was able to tap into that and raise my price and get hired over and over again. And where it became lucrative and so incredibly rewarding, because let's just forget about the money for a moment, just going and having these experiences of getting flown all over the world, and you go to this place and all these people show up and you have this great time together. I mean, that's richness of life, right? But where I was able to tap into is where you can do show after show after show. So I think the most that I ever got paid from a military show was about $2,000. But when you can do it over and over and over again on a tour, then at least that starts to add up and actually really, is a nice paycheck when you come home. If that's the level you're on, there's so many different financial levels that you can tap into. But it was certainly fun, and I did it for years, and I continued to do it I always did it. It was like a piece of the overall business, but it really gave me an amazing start. So
what was the time scale, kind of going from that first show in the military base to being on the road pretty much as a full-time hypnotist?
Yeah, so from there, I just committed myself. I literally packed up my entire house, and I think at the time I had so much passion. You know how it is, if you meet somebody that is full of passion of what they're going to do and they have this dream, half the people will go, "You're effing crazy," right? And then the other half will be like, "What do you need me to do to help you?"
Yeah.
People want to jump in because we all love people with a dream.
Yeah.
And so my boyfriend at the time was like, I get this 100%. I'm doing this with you.
Brilliant.
And so he literally left his company. This is so crazy when I say it out loud. He had a company that he owned. He was 7 years in. It was in the travel business. And he's like, I'm going on the road with you. Let's do this. And so he was fantastic at being on the phones and sales, and he could represent me better than I could represent myself. And so he did a lot of selling my show. And so we went on the road that year. So when we talk about what that looks like, it was within a year I was on the road touring.
Wow.
And what that looked like is probably different than the glamour of what it sounds like.
Yes.
Packed up our entire house. We completely manifested. This is so crazy. A $350,000 coach, a motorhome, a bus. Wow. We manifested it for $1,000 a month.
Wow.
And we moved into it and went on the road like we were touring, like a band.
Wow.
We bought a custom trailer with money that we made from shows to match it. And so we were a 70-foot rig. It was huge going down the road, and we lived in it for 3 years and committed to doing shows. So we just started calling people, fairs, grad nights, proms, corporate, and military, college. I did all of them. And we just started making things happen. I also did my own seminars. So we would just go into a town and we'd go to FedEx, which was Kinko's at the time, and we would run off flyers and we'd put them all over town. And we would do quit smoking seminars. So we did that just to like get some money in our pocket, from show to show or in the in-between of when we didn't book. So it wasn't like I got booked out just automatically, but enough to where it got us from place to place all over the country. And we just started networking, and then that just started snowballing from there.
I think you're absolutely right. It is about that putting in the graft and the hard work to doing what you can to make it work. During those times on the road, you must have had some challenges, some learning experiences, some failures. What's the one that stands out most to you?
Okay. I would say the best part of, I mean specific to the show or to life? To the show?
Well, do the show and for life.
Yeah. So the show, it's all about getting that experience. When I started booking fairs, that gave me the best experience, because fairs, when I would get booked, I would be doing 2 and even 3 shows a day. And I hated doing 3 shows a day because it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
And when I do a show, I give 100% of myself. And I don't say that like I'm any better, because I know all of us do that.
Yeah.
But I would say I leave it all at every show. And so I learned to pace myself better. But there's a lot of energy that comes out of that. But what happens with fairs is you're booked for, let's say that you get booked for a 10-day fair. And for 10-day fairs back then, I used to charge either $1,000 or $1,200 a day for a 10-day fair. And then you would have your merchandise afterwards that you'd make money off of your merchandise as well. And so let's say you get booked for this 10-day fair and you got 2 shows a day. Well, now you've done 20 shows in a week and a half, or, times 3. And so 20 to 30 shows. And what happens is you have a show at noon on a Monday when nobody's at the fair. And then you have a show later that night. Let's stick with the 2-show format. Then you have a show at 8 o'clock. It sucks when they give you that kind of format. You don't really have control over when you're going to be performing. You can give your input, but they're not going to listen to you because they just want to fill their time, right? And so you got to go with what they give you. So you got to get really good at being able to do anything. Just anything they ask you, you can do. And so the sequence, you could bomb at 12 o'clock and then kill it at 8 o'clock that night. And so learning that that it's okay. Yeah. And then you go back the next day and do it again. You bomb less and you kill it more.
Yeah.
Right. So then you learn, okay, well, what can I do to not bomb at 12 o'clock? And sometimes you just can't help it. I mean, if there's 7 people sitting in the audience at 12 o'clock, there's not much you can do about that. But what I would do is I'd get up and like do the sunshine dance with whoever's there. What I would always do something. I never acted like a diva and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do a show.
Yeah.
I would always do something. And the fair manager, who, by the way, signs my paycheck, was always loved me for that, right? They'd be like, awesome, thank you, even though it was nothing. But that sequence of doing show after show, it gets you really good. And here's where all of the good skits come from. They don't come from your genius. They come from the volunteers' genius. Because where they went with the skit is what you build into the skit the next time, right? Absolutely. And so you realize like, oh my God, that was so funny that they took it that way. So then you know how to set it up that way the next time so that it actually affects everyone that way. Yeah. And that's where the genius comes from. And you can only do that from doing show after show after show. Yeah. So I learned that in those early years.
Yeah.
I learned how to work really hard.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely spot on what you say, that, you know, you can bomb, but then, you know, you do another show and another show, and you learn that even though nobody wants to bomb, you know, when it happens, you know, you've got another show to kind of build you back up from there. Great question from Natasha Stanley. She says, in regards to hypnosis and getting booked, have you felt you've had to work harder to become established and build your reputation because you're a female?
No, I never once thought about that.
Yeah.
I felt it from the men that are my competition, but not from the actual people that are booking me, ever.
Brilliant.
So I can tell you, Natasha, that men, and I say this with total respect, Grant, men gave me a lot of shit. I mean, they really, there was some really weird things that happened early in the beginning from my competition. And the men that I never thought of them, I'm saying my competition just from a business standpoint, but like, I didn't ever think of them like that. I thought of them as, I'm just here doing my thing. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and let's do our thing, right? It doesn't have to be this way, but there was a group of people, and they weren't grouped as in conspiring against me or anything, but there were men in the hypnosis business that you would all know. I could name their names, but I will not. That absolutely tried to sabotage and talk bad about me behind my back, and they would always come back around, and I'd just be like, whatever. So yeah, don't let that hold you back, sister.
I think sometimes having someone that is doing that sometimes can act as to kind of feed you energy to make you push harder sometimes. But I mean, it's weirdly. The stage stuff has been kind of dominated by males for such a long time, but the female stage hypnotists that are out there are absolutely kind of, you know, really doing fantastic things, and it makes it more appealing to an audience when it's not some weird bloke with a weird goatee and a pocket watch acting all authoritarian. So
right.
You know, there's so many insecure males that come into this field because we want that power.
I have literally not had one promo material ever of me going like this. Like, no, it's just not my vibe. And no disrespect to those that do, because you got to do what works for you, but never. No, I always wanted to look like Charlie's Angels, which I don't know, British people may not know what that is, but Charlie's Angels, like our big 70s show. And I wanted to be like, whoosh, like a Bond girl, you know, but you know, there is no competition. It's like, just do your thing and don't worry about those, because that's just those people, and all of that's just a distraction. And I think that you can also find someone to buy your show in whatever niche that you're in. There's going to be people that buy somebody else that goes, oh my gosh, he's the best, he's so amazing and great. And then there's going to be someone that buys my show and says the same thing. So you know, it's fine.
Brenda Kay says women actually have the advantage when it comes to stage shows. So yes, brilliant.
I do think that can I address that for a second?
Of course,
I do think that we have a certain savoir-faire that we can pull off, because we don't come across creepy ever. At least I hope you don't, if you're a female stage hypnotist. and I know that I've been able to navigate some areas that maybe a male would not have. I also know that I help people feel very safe in my show.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when we talked about, well, it's not funny as in haha, peculiar. I had one of what I would consider, you said, what are the failures? I had something that happened in my career that really like spun me hard. And it was about, I would say like 12 years in. So it was a ways into literally being, because you guys, I've never done anything else. I don't have a side gig. This is what I've been doing my whole career is hypnosis shows, hypnosis seminars, and clients, one-on-one clients. And here I am in my office. I just had a client that left. And so this is what I've been making my living off of all these years. They're 12 years into that experience. I had an experience with another hypnotist and in a stage show where they took something out of context, a video of my show out of context, and they put it on the internet and they put subtitles and they said that I hurt people, I harm people, and that I could even murder you in my show. And I was like, what? I mean, it was crazy. And that was by somebody that had come to my show, bought the video after I sell the videos, and then put that out on the internet. And other hypnotists actually bought into that. And we're all kind of like, had this crazy rumor that I hurt people. And it was all based off of the context. I was doing a show at Halloween Haunt, which is, I did 303 shows for Knott's Berry Farm. And they're an adventure park here in Southern California. And I did 3 seasons, 101 shows in one season, which is 6 weeks.
Wow.
Like, add that up. Crazy. And the context of the shows is very like haunting and mysterious and scary, because that's people come to the park for that experience. And so my show was designed around those kind of skits for the purpose. And then they took that show and put it out there out of context. And so I say that to you because you guys, we can make it through anything. I mean, one of the things that taught me, it was so disheartening to me because I've always been a person like Brenda Kay. I always think of her as like the good witch on stage. She comes out in these like glorious dresses and she's like, hello, everybody, we're gonna have a good time. And she just, it's her, like she pulls that off so beautifully. I've always felt similar in the sense like my heart has always been in the right place with doing these shows. And so to have that experience and have people in your industry, just say negative things about you or feel that pressure of like trying to stick up for yourself. I had to really dig deep within myself. I didn't have to. I chose to dig deep within myself and kind of find my way through that. And what that taught me was, we can all make it through anything. So to her point of the pressure of how we behave as women and whether that it was ever an issue or any of these, they're all distractions.
Yeah.
And so just let them go. Let them go and keep on your vision of who you want to be. That's in how you do your business, and make sure it's of the right place, in your heart-centeredness.
Yeah, that's, I love these talks when there's a moment when you kind of go, that is absolutely amazing piece of advice. That whole, if your intent is pure, just focus on your goal, your dream, and forget about everybody else, all those distractions. That's brilliant. I know Fraser that's watching this as well, who's quite new to stage hypnosis. That's a great piece of advice for Fraser as well. And Brenda says, that's spot on for me. I think you should talk about the white witch with the good witch with the sparkles. I'd love to get away with as many sparkles as Brenda does.
Totally.
So I always ask people as well about the kind of books that have influenced you. I know you're an author of quite a few books yourself and co-authored quite a few books. If you would say there was 2 books for budding stage hypnotists or therapists that are wanting to go into doing demonstrations, what would be the first 2 that pop to mind?
There's a couple of things that really influenced me early on and that have continued to influence me. And I'll give you one from early and from now. the first book that I was introduced to that was really about self-help and personal development was Louise Hay and all of her beautiful affirmations. That really started me on a path, because when I, got this wild flair to like become a hypnotist and do these stage shows, I always had this vision of the transformation. But then when I went through hypnotherapy classes and got certified, and I did, at the time, they called it certified clinical hypnotherapy. Things have kind of changed now just because of regulations and whatnot. I went through, I think my initial one was 350 hours. When I did that, I was introduced to the world of growth and what it is to heal and grow within yourself, and to find, I think that I thought confidence then was like this, I don't know, just this contrived, I've used that word several times this experience. I think that I used to think confidence was, this like this statuesque kind of like, I look perfect. But then I learned in that original certification about personal growth. And that was in 1997 or 98, and it was Louise Hay that were these affirmations. And then the second book was Sark, and I don't know if you guys know her in Britain, but Sark, S-A-R-K.
Yeah.
She is an author that was all about being bold. And oh my gosh, and even the way, if you order any of her books, they're written. They're not like regular print. They're literally written and with color. It's really weird. And she made me go, oh my gosh, I could be whatever I want to be. Like, woo, I could just put myself out there. And I knew all that was within me, but I hadn't really put it out there. And so Sark was one of my greatest influences as a female to just like be whatever you want to be.
Brilliant.
And then the second would be, or the third actually, would be Louise Hay, Sark. It would be then Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. There were so many little pieces, and as a whole, I can't tell you all of them, right? But the little pieces, just the auto suggestions, and being able to recognize that there's something to this with your thoughts, right? So that got me going. Along the way, one of the most hands down influential books ever has been the book Letting Go, A Pathway to Surrender. So the title is Letting Go. The subtitle is A Pathway to Surrender. Written by a man, David Hawkins, PhD, MD. He was a psychiatrist as well as a medical doctor, and became very spiritual in his latter years. He also wrote the book Power versus Force, which is an incredible book. He's a real intellect, but he's also super spiritual. So something about that combination is just really amazing. Yeah. And that book, I can tell you, I have come back to hundreds of times with clients. Everything that it just opened so many pathways for me. One of the greatest things that I took from that book is this courage. I feel like I've always been a courageous person, but not always with my emotions. And that book really taught me a lot about channeling my emotions to the positive. So I believe it was Fraser early on that asked about stage fright and all of that. Yeah. That book will define it for you, of what to do with yourself, inside yourself, to be calm when you're walking out onto a stage. And it has nothing to do with speaking, right? And it's not one of those kind of books, but you'll learn it from that book of just how to manage your mind and emotions. So I hope that answers your questions.
Absolutely. And Natasha Stanley says, do you have any podcast or YouTube videos or anything with you talking about these things? I really enjoyed listening to you and your take on personal growth and success as a female businesswoman.
That's awesome.
I'll bring your website up at the bottom of the screen there as well.
Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel is De'anna Nunez now. One of the things that you'll find, I think, about me and my path is I've always been on this quest to have adventures. And so my business path has been less about making money and more about having adventures. Yeah. And so I used to say to myself that I was the Forrest Gump of hypnosis, because I've had all these like really big experiences. If you guys have watched the movie Forrest Gump, he's like this dumb guy that ends up like standing next to the president and being the fastest ping pong player in the entire world, like all these weird experiences. But he's like, oh, I'm just Forrest Gump. And I used to tell myself that I was like him because I found myself in all of these really big experiences. I mean, I've done shows for 5-star generals and, you know, opens for all of these huge name acts. Like my favorite band when I was a kid, I used to pretend I was the lead singer, and then fast forward 20 years, I literally opened for that band on a huge stage in front of 10,000 people. So I had all these weird experiences. So I to her point, I have not done a good job in the sense of how other people have done it in my social media and like picking up thousands of followers. I just been like out there having a blast. And so I cared less about doing those things. But I see now what I mean by doing those things. I mean like really focusing on like how many subscribers I have and how many followers I have and all this contrived. There it is again. Is that the theme? I think it must be a message for me. I have focused less on all of that and focused on really having connections and experiences with people where I'm at in that moment. But I think there obviously is, I'm recognizing now that I have wisdom to share in all of that that could probably be really beneficial to people. So I appreciate you, Natasha, saying that to me, and I'm happy to share with you anything that you want to know and do what you said and create opportunities to share that wisdom. So thank you for that.
Natasha follows that up then. So saying you're far from done. Living your life and being open to every experience is the best way. I measure my success by happiness, not by bank balance. Absolutely. I must say this has been one of my favorite ones. It's been really great talking to you as well. If you were to give one tip, one piece of advice to a budding stage hypnotist, both male or female, the advice that you wish you'd been given when you first started out on the road, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, I really couldn't make it be one thing, but I think I can kind of wrap it up into like a ball of things. I would say to really care about the person sitting in your chair. And care about what their experience is, and recognize. And what I mean by that is like it's not. Yes, it's about you, but it's not about you. Be prepared and have this whole plan of how you want things to go, but also in that, make sure that it's about these people having a good time and walking away from that experience not feeling like an ass, but walking away feeling like they just did something really great.
Yeah.
And if you can hone in on that you touch them out of a little piece of their life in this like innocent entertainment experience, but they literally walked away better from having been a part of your show, then you've done something right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Dropping gold advice there. That's amazing. Yeah. De'anna, thank you very much for coming on. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Brenda Kay says a great interview, Grant and De'anna.
Love
Absolutely fantastic.
you, Brenda.
Yeah, I know I've been getting messages from people all day over here in the UK as well, looking forward to this interview. You obviously are very well respected and very well regarded, and keep on doing what you're doing. So yes, for me, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing that information. Guys, please do check out her website. It's on the screen now, De'annaNunez.com. Also follow her on YouTube. All her social media channels, follow on there as well. Absolutely fantastic. Brian Penman, fantastic interview. Thank you to you both. Roy Miller says thank you to you both. Lots of
thank
love.
You, Roy. Thanks, Brian.
Fantastic. De'anna, thank you very much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of, is it California that you're in?
Thank you. I'm in San Diego, so I'm going to a birthday party after this for my best friend.
Oh,
I've appreciated this time with you.
I appreciate you being with us, and thank you very much for sharing your story as well. Cheers.
Thank you, Grant. It's so nice to meet you. I feel like I know you already, so thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye. So, guys, another absolutely fantastic interview. Each week, please do like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Every week, we bring you an expert stage hypnotist performer that really does kind of share their story and does, do you know what I mean? This is not about selling training courses. This is not about, you know, egos. This is about people actually sharing their successes in order to help you as well. Please do check out her social media and share the love with her as well. Thank you very much for me, and I shall see you next week. Please do take care. And like I said, do like and subscribe, but that way you are kept up to date on notifications of when new shows go live. So from me and from De'anna, thank you very much and good night.